Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, and honestly, welcome back to me. I've been on a break. I've been on summer vacation, okay? I don't get a real summer vacation anymore because I am an adult who works like, a regular 40-hour work week. So I don't get summer vacations like the kids do anymore, or like some teachers do. Or yeah, those are the only people I know that get summer vacation. And so I don't get that. So I took one for myself from BookTube. Is this any different than any other break that I take? No. But we're going to call it summer vacation. So I'm going to give you my wrap up from July because I know I have not been doing great on wrap ups. I just haven't. But I figured if I organized my wrap ups differently every time I did a wrap up, maybe I'd have a little bit more fun. In fact, I was actually inspired by Kayla over at Books and Lala. She always has a theme or a question or something around her wrap-ups. And I was like, good idea. So you know what I did? I thought of some ideas of how I could organize my wrap-ups, and I put them in a handy dandy spinner wheel. And why didn't I just pick something? Oh my God, why is the ice cream truck so loud right now? If I had a handy dandy spinner wheel that just told me how I was going to organize my books for the wrap up, great. So I have a whole bunch. If you think of any fun ways to organize my wrap up, let me know. I'll add it to the spinner wheel. But for today's purposes, we're just going to go with what I already have here and see how I'm going to do this. So it's spinning, spinning, spinning. This is way too long of a spin. We are going to go alphabetically by author last name. Cool. That's easy enough to organize. Let me get it together. I'll come back and then we can talk about the books. Okay, so is alphabetically by last name the most exciting thing? No, but it's fine. Anyway, I have my handy dandy notes here because I had to organize them by author last name. And I'm really excited because the very first one that we're going to start off with is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. Now, I think I heard about this from Steph, but I heard about it and I was just like, okay, cool, maybe I'll check it out. And then I buddy read this with two friends of mine and we had a fantastic time. It was so good. I love Big Daddy Luther. It's just, it's so good. And I am not a romantic girly. Okay, so this is about Diem. Her mother has gone missing and she's living with her dad and her brother. And she's just being a healer in this world called Lumnos, I think. And this is a place where there are these people called the Descendant. They're a mix of mortals and gods. And then they became descended. So super beings. And they also live in this place with mortals. They live there, they don't get along. The Descendant treat mortals pretty much like servants and trash. And so the Descendant live in these beautiful palaces and cities, have this abundance of wealth. Meanwhile, the mortals are just trying to get by. You know what I mean? Diem is a mortal, except that she has irregular features that would make you assume that she is a descendant, but she's just I'm not a descendant. My mom, my dad, people have told me my whole life I'm not a descendant. I don't even have magic powers because the Descendant are magical. She's I'm just out here healing people the best way I can and living my life with my boyfriend, Henry, who Henry. But anyway, so she's just I'm out here living my life with Henry and my family and just making it, healing people. And so one day, she's still just trying to make it through, especially with her mother gone and missing. And so one day there is an accident at the palace and there's a bunch of Descendant kids that are hurt, but she goes in and she helps them. And then there's Prince Luther comes, he's kind of a jerk. And she's just I don't know why you're being a jerk. Relax. And it's just a cute little time. It's a good little slow burn moment. She's conflicted because she has grown up all her life to not like the Descendant and not want to be around the Descended. And here she is thrown into a situation where now she does have to interact with them because she's taken place as a replacement for her mother, who was a healer at the palace. And then she's also a part of something else, which puts her into contact with the descendant. And she's just like, I still hate them. And then Luther is just like, I don't know how to explain him because I just love him so much. But like, he's a descendant, he's not a jerk. And it's like, what do we do with that? We have all this happening. We've got a little bit of a slow burn that you just know is going to happen. There's stuff going on with Henry and Diem. Now, let me tell you this. I loved it. I think I gave this 4.25 stars. And that is speaking very highly because, again, I'm not a romantasy girly. So, like, for me to give this a 4.25 and want it to continue it immediately, but I couldn't because I had some other things I needed to read, I think that says a lot about it. Diem is not going to be the best main character that you've ever read from. She's a little dumb. I don't know how else to put it. She's a little dumb, a little naive. A little, you know what? Dumb was the word. But I have been waiting because the fourth book was supposed to come out at the end of July. So I was like, boom, this is great. When I'm done with this July TBR, I'm going to go straight into the rest of the series and just binge it all. And unfortunately for all of us, book 4 is nowhere to be seen. There's no expected publication date. Like, when's it coming, Pen? When is it coming? Anyway, that was Spark of the Everflame, and I'm so glad I read it. I convinced Jess to read it. She ended up loving it, surpassed me, and started reading book 2. And like, I haven't started book 2 yet. Because I need the next one ready. I need book 3, and then I need book 4. You know what I mean? It's what I need. Anyway, next book, or next in order of author, I listened to The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I think that was my first Lucy Foley. Unclear. No, I think I read something else from her earlier in this year. Anyway, I listened to The Hunting Party. It was a really fun time. It's about 6 friends, I think, 6, 7 friends. They go to a hunting lodge for a little winter trip. And I don't even know if I want to call them friends. They're more like frenemies, where everyone has just a little bit of an issue with each other. And unfortunately, someone ends up dead, but it's like, who killed this person and why? And there's just so many reasons for a person to die. Because one, they're at the hunting lodge, so it could have just been an accident where they thought that they were trying to shoot a deer or something, or it could be one of the friends. And like, getting to know each of the characters and their different relationships with the other characters was a really good time. It was fun. It's not super memorable to me in a way that I would be like, oh, I'm going to think about this forever. It was just a nice little fun time. I think that I also gave this like 4 stars. I did. I gave this 4 stars because it was a nice little fun time to read in the summertime while it was boiling hot here. Moving on, the next thing was The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I read this as part of my Around the World because Namina Forna is Sierra Leonean American, and so I was reading that as part of my Reading Around the World series. Obviously, The Gilded Ones does not take place in an actual Sierra Leone, but we're going by either setting or author for that. And so I think I ended up giving this like 3.25. Now listen, here's the thing. It wasn't bad. I think it was more of me thing. One, I had read this after reading a ton of fantasy back to back to back. It was just a very fantasy heavy month in July for me. I'm already not the biggest fan of YA fantasy at the moment. And also, it just felt like it didn't grab me. And objectively, great story, just maybe it was not for me. And so 3.25, you're following this girl. Dika is about to attend her blood ceremony where girls are cut and you see what color their blood is. I think if it's like red or something, it runs pure, but like anything else, it's like tinged. So she gets her blood cut, or something happens. Basically, her blood is drawn, and they see that her blood runs gold. And basically, she is just scum of the earth, Satan incarnate. And they're like, oh, we've got to get rid of you. And so they do some very gruesome and horrible things to her and any girl that bleeds gold. And she ends up being rescued by this woman who takes her kind of to the palace to become a type of warrior for the country, which I think is crazy, because after you've tortured me, you want me to protect these people? I think not. She becomes friends with a bunch of other girls that are very similar to herself. They also came from backgrounds where people realized that they were gilded ones, and horrific things happen to them as well. And so they create a bond of a close friendship as they get closer in this troop of soldiers. So while she's training to be one of these elite soldiers, she also starts to find out some secrets about exactly who she is and exactly what the Gilded Ones can do. And so I did not obviously continue on with the series. I had Ray spoil it for me. And so that's my journey with the Gilded Ones. Would I read something else from Namina Forna? Sure. Probably, if it was not a YA fantasy, I would give it a shot. Moving on in order of alphabet was Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. Now, I want to say that this surprised me, okay? I didn't expect to love this as much as I did. I gave this 4.5 stars. I think about it all the time. Jess and I were supposed to buddy read this, but like we ended up doing a flip-flop buddy read where she was reading something that we were going to read together. Well, I read Ship of Magic, and then like we switched. And so I read Ship of Magic. This is a family saga with sentient ships and dragons. Unclear. There are serpents, and I think the serpents are supposed to be dragons, but I'm not sure. Anyway, we are following this ship, Vivacia, and there has been generations of families that belong to the ship, or the ship belongs to the families. They belong to each other. They're a family, the ship and the people. And the captain dies, and instead of leaving the ship to his daughter who has been with him and living on the ship and knows how to like run the ship, he leaves it to his son-in-law, Kyle, which this is how I know Robin knows a Kyle in real life and hates him and made him the character in this book, because everybody else has like a typical fantasy name, you know, or like something. We've got Althea, we've got Wintro, Ronica, Vivacia, and then Kyle. She hates Kyle in the book and in real life. I am convinced. And so then you have like this family battle between Althea and Kyle, and Wintro, who's Kyle's son. He doesn't even want to be on the ship, but Kyle is like, well, I need someone who's blood related to be on this ship. And he's just like, you are it, my guy. You've got Ronica, who's Althea's mother, who's trying to hold the fort down, like at home base. She's dealing with stuff with her own daughter, her granddaughter, trying to keep the house together. And it is just drama-fied. Oh, and then on top of all of the family drama happening, you've got this pirate named Kenneth, and Kenneth is like, I'm only here so that I can bag a live ship for myself. And he's like, I'ma steal it, because that's what pirates do. And so you got all of this in the mix, and it's just a good old time. If somebody had told me that this was a crazy family saga, I would have been on it immediately. I would not have like dragged my feet, because unlike Farseer trilogy, where we are just in the mind of sad, pitiful Fitz, you know, I think that's what made Farseer trilogy not my favorite, because Fitz was just so pitiful and we were only in his mind and only had his thoughts and points of view. Meanwhile, we've got points of view from everybody, and it is a good old time. I immediately want to go into Mad Ship, and I'm waiting because I've got some other things I need to do, but Mad Ship It's coming. Then I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I had a good old time with this. It is, I don't remember her name or the guy's name. But basically, there's this girl. She's super rich, and she's also a doctor. And she comes from a long line of doctors, and they all work at this hospital, Montgomery. What is her first name, though? I want to say Addison, but that is Grey's Anatomy. I can't remember her name. But anyway, she's in Montgomery. This part of this doctor family legacy. And so has to work at the hospital because her dad says so. Her dad is also an asshole, by the way. Her mom has no backbone. And her brother was like, hey, you know how we're supposed to carry on this legacy? Well, I'm not. I'm Audi 5000 to go be happy and live my life. And so she's kind of stuck. She's like, I'm the last one left. I have to continue on the legacy. And so she's doing it begrudgingly. However, she meets this dude in this very small town who is so different from anything in her real life. He's younger. He runs like a bed and breakfast and makes furniture. And so it's just like, she knows if he were to come and join her in her world, he would be like laughed out. Like people would just treat him so shitty. And she's just like, I can't do that to him. And so she's going to carry on this relationship with him. And she thinks like, oh, it's just a for now thing. But like she starts to develop feelings. He starts to develop feelings. There's feelings from everybody. And she's just like, I don't know how to end this. And as you go along, you really see them develop their relationship. You kind of want to just slap her and be like, hey girl, just say some things so that you can clarify. Like, it's not that I don't like you. It's that I think that my world could destroy you. And so like they're trying to balance being in each other's world while like insulating themselves from their world. The family made me want to fight all the time. Daniel is the love interest. What's that girl's name? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But Daniel was just so sweet and cute and very mature. And I loved him. I loved his family. I loved how he stood up for his family, how he wanted to treat them well, treat everybody well. It was just a good old Abby Jimenez time. And so I'm actually going to continue on. I think the next one is yours truly. And so I think I found a new Emily Henry-esque type writer. I don't know that I like her more than Emily Henry. I think that's just a little bit different in some ways, but very similar. So if you're an Emily Henry lover and you have not read Abby Jimenez, I would suggest you try Abby Jimenez or vice versa. Then after that, we have Gild by Raven Kennedy. I was buddy reading this with Steph, and this is a King Midas retelling. King Midas is the guy who, when he touches things, it turns into gold. So King Midas is the king, and he has this pet, Orin. And when I say pet, I mean like a woman. And Orin is gold touched. King Midas touched her, and she's gold. I've got more questions about this gold touching, but like that's not for this video. Anyway, Orin has kind of been his pet. She's caged. She is for show and only for King Midas. However, there is a little plot happening where Midas is like, I'm going to let you have my gold pet in exchange for some of your army so that we can overrun another kingdom and we'll like split the spoils. And Orin being like, how could he do this to me? He was supposed to be mine. I am his, that kind of thing. I had a good old fun time. We got to the end and I was like, ooh, what's going to happen? Now, I will say like the first book, I haven't continued on with the series yet. Me and Steph are still buddy reading this. But there are things that I'm just like, I need to see play out. Like, I'm not sure about King Rot yet, but I feel like I want him and Midas to kiss. Just saying, just a little. Anyway, I don't know if that's a thing that happens in this book. And I could care less about Orin because she's also a little dumb. She's giving much big dummy energy. And so I really don't care. But Midas and King Rot. Anyway, next book. I read The Memory Keeper of Kyiv by Aaron Litkin. This was also for my Around the World. I think I had to roll over a book. And so I didn't read Around the World in June. So I rolled it over into July. And that's where I got The Memory Keeper of Kyiv for Ukraine. And this was a dual timeline historical fiction. I love a dual timeline. In one timeline, we're focused on the 1930s as Stalin's activists are coming through Ukraine and really just starving the people there and taking the resources for themselves. And we're following this girl, Katya, as she's trying to just survive living under this terrible time. And she's seeing members of her family get executed for seemingly nothing, for just trying to have enough food for her family to survive. There are times where she starts to lose hope. She loses people that she loves very, very much. And then we have a present timeline where there is like 3 generations of women, mother, grandmother, and daughter. And so the grandmother, her memory is starting to fade, but along with her memory fading, she's starting to say some things that sound very odd. And the mother and the daughter are just like, why is she talking about these things? I don't even know what she's talking about. And so as they try to figure out what the grandmother has been talking about, they realize that she may have some memories of her life in Ukraine, and she's starting to say them out loud through these like weird ramblings at times. They seem like ramblings, but for the grandmother, they are just memories coming about. And so you have these 2 timelines coming together. So you have the granddaughter who's actually just really trying to figure this out. Also, the granddaughter is going through her own situation because she has lost her husband in the past year, and she's just trying to figure out how to like live again and love again. And can she love again? Because the love of her life has passed away. And so like she's dealing with that while also trying to like learn about her grandmother's past. 3 books left. Camera's dying. Let's see if we can get through this. Okay. Then I read Cameron Battle and the Hidden Kingdoms. That was my June buddy read with Ray. But see, the thing was that we were going to read it on the plane to our trip to Chicago. And then I read it on the plane. Okay. I may have been asleep while I was listening to it on audio, but it was going. Okay. Osmosis. But I think I ended up giving this like a 4.25. It's a middle grade, which is so interesting because I did not like the Gilded ones, which was a YA fantasy. Did my battery die? It did. Anyway, I was talking about Cameron Battle. And this is about Cameron, who has always read from this thing called the Book of Shidani with his parents. However, his parents have recently, I don't even know if it's been recent, I think it's been a couple of years, they've disappeared. They've just gone. Where are they? I don't know. Did they die? Did they just up and leave? Unclear. But one day, Cameron is in the house with his friends Zion and Aaliyah, and the Book of Shidani is just doing some weird shit. And they get sucked into the book. And they end up in the land of Shidani. And he finds out that he is a descendant, someone who is supposed to care and protect the book and the people of Shidani. He is basically their warrior. And so now that it's been in his family forever. And so now that he's in Shidani, he needs to help save them from the queen's sister who's trying to destroy them. And why is the queen's sister trying to destroy the people of Shidani? Unclear. Probably because she wants to be queen. Like, is that not always, it's a sibling rivalry, you know, like, it's like, I'm the younger sibling, and so I must kill my older sibling so then I can rule. Is that not always the reason? Anyway, Cameron and friends are sent there. They are trying to help the people of Shidani. He's starting to find out some secrets about his mother and father and where they might possibly be. They might be in Shidani. I don't know. But I'm excited because I'm going to continue. I think it's a duology, so I'm definitely going to read the second book. And I had a really good time. Then we get to the worst book that I've read. I don't want to say ever. But one of the worst books I've definitely read this year, it'll be on my worst of, and that's Gothikana by Runix. Worst book ever. I was buddy reading this with Ashley. It was just so laughably bad. I don't even know if it was laughable. It was very cringy. But we basically have this girl who's not like other girls. She's a homeschooled freak. And she somehow gets accepted into this college that she never applied to. Her mother is away because her mother is also strange. And I forget the girl's name, but she's got violet eyes. And does she have violet eyes? They've both got colored eyes. Somebody's violet, somebody's silver. Anyway, she gets to this college that she didn't apply to. How she got in, I don't know. How she got an acceptance letter when no one knows she exists, unclear. Anyway, she goes to this college and she has this professor, and her and the professor are making googly eyes with each other. And everyone's like, stay away from him. And yes, please. But they enter into this secret relationship that nobody should know about. And there's also like a side plot where people from the school go missing every couple of years when they start having this ball thing. And when the two things, their relationship and this ball thing, converge, it's just such a clusterfuck. And you're just like, why did I read this? Why? The sex scenes, disgusting and cringy. I was like, what's happening? The dialogue, super cringy. It's so bad. It's so bad. And then just like the descriptions of the characters were flat. The plot had plot holes all over the place. It was looking like Swiss cheese in that plot. And so terrible. I gave this 0 stars. In fact, I might just give it 1 because like 0 is so, I feel like 0 is kind of a neutral. Like I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to rate this a 1 for sure because it was bad. It was bad. And then the last thing by way of alphabet that I read was Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams. I gave this a smooth 3.5 stars. Again, it was a YA fantasy, which is not my favorite, but I did not hate it. I'm intrigued enough to maybe want to read the second book that comes out. I don't know how many books are supposed to be in this series, whether it's duology, trilogy, whatever. But we're following this boy who grew up in the foster system because his mother died. Why are all the mothers dying or disappearing? Anyway, his mother has died when he was young, and so he ends up in the foster system, which has not been kind to him. And he is 18 and he's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. He takes his little brother, who's like not really his biological little brother, but somebody he's grown up with and taken care of. He's like, we're getting out of here. Also, he has magic. People know that he has magic, but he does not know how to control his magic because no one has ever taught him. He doesn't even really know where it came from, what it does, what to do with it. And until he comes across somebody who's like, hey, I can help you. In fact, go to this location and you're going to be able to like learn some things. He gets to this location down in Louisiana and he meets his grandmother and he's like, where have you been all this time? I was just out here by myself. Where have you been? And she gives an explanation for it and says like, hey, I couldn't really be here for you, not by my own choosing. Anyway, he enters into the college, which is basically like a magical HBCU. I have seen a lot of people not enjoying this book. Now, I'm going to say this. Did I love it? No, but that's mostly because 1, it was YA. 2, there are a lot of pop culture references that I don't always necessarily like in books because I feel like it dates a book very much so. And so I didn't particularly care for it, but was it super Black? Yeah. Did I love that? Absolutely. Their HBCU experience made me feel like an HBCU experience that I've had as someone who attended an HBCU. And so people also had problems with like his behavior and the things that he said, but also he's an 18-year-old boy. So like, it's just like, they're gonna say stupid things. They jump to conclusions. So like all the hate that this book was getting, I can't relate. It was all right to me. Now, I can't tell you that I fully understand the magic system. I can't. Very confused. I don't know how things happen, when they happen, or why. But I wasn't really focused on the magic, okay? I was here for the plot because it was messy. It had stuff about his mother. There were these people called the book whores who were trying to like take down the magical society and like reign. And I was just like, ooh, why are y'all so mad? And like they had been doing this all throughout history, and I was here for it because we kept jumping through time and history, and that was fun. So yeah, I had an all right time with Blood at the Root. I can't say, like, again, it was not my favorite thing that I've ever read, but it worked for me. And it worked for me enough that it ended on a cliffhanger that I was interested enough. Like I would read the second book, maybe not immediately. I'm not going to pre-order that, you know what I mean? But I would read it. So that's what I read in July. I had a good time. I had a relatively good reading month, very fantasy heavy. I think I have a fantasy hangover. I'm still reading fantasy things. It is a lot. I need a fantasy break, but that's what I read. If you have read any of these and enjoyed them, let me know. Let's talk about it down in the comments. Or if you didn't enjoy them, let me know. Let's talk about that down in the comments. If you have any ideas for ways to order my wrap-ups, also drop those in the comments. I'll add it to the wheel for next month. And until next time, bye.